Hey everyone, welcome back to the Up and Adam show. Guys, I'm super excited. I can't wait to introduce you to my guest tonight. He's an amazing actor and all around great person. If you watch his other interviews, he's just such a kind-hearted guy. And you might know him. Actually, I shouldn't say might. You definitely know him in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Also Gilmore Girls, and he's done a lot more amazing work. And I encourage you all to check it out. Please welcome the amazing Sean Gunn. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. It's going well. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I always do these like good intros, and then I expect like the audience to start clapping, like it's like the Tonight Show or something. One day I'll have that space.
Someday you'll have that live studio audience. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. But thank you so much, man. It's honestly such an honor to have you on. I'm a big fan, and I got to say this new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I want to kick it off with just talking about that because it was so. I want to say it was groundbreaking because first off, that was the first Marvel movie that actually made me cry. First off, just because you see, Rocket's backstory, and it's just very touching, very emotional story. And
Hmm.
all in all, I to me, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, the franchise itself feels a lot different than other Marvel movies. It's very unique. It has the soundtrack, the fact that they aren't your typical superheroes. They're kind of like misfits coming together to fight justice. I thought that was really interesting. I think that
Hmm.
those contribute to its uniqueness. But why do you feel like this franchise in particular just stands out from the rest and it has been so well received?
Well, I think it's part of what you talk about. I mean, first of all, I got to say I'm really proud of the movie. I think it's probably my favorite thing I've done, and I think that the fact that it was a culmination of the three movies really worked. It worked really well as a trilogy, and I think it's a little what you were talking about, that these characters, they're outsiders. Like, they're people who for whatever reason they don't have families in the traditional sense, really, any of them, and so they kind of make their family along the way, and it's something that I think that we can all really, you know, a lot of us can relate to that. Even people with traditional families, you relate to finding people that feel like they're part of your family, um, uh, as you kind of go through life, and these characters came to love one another, and I think the audiences came to love them too. And so I just really I think that there's something about, feeling everybody feels like an outsider at some point, I think, and so I think there's something about these outsiders coming together that really sticks.
Yeah, and also you mentioned about the family aspect, right? And I feel like no matter
Mm-hmm.
what the story is, because people have to remember, like, okay, it's a fantasy type of movie, right? Superheroes. It's obviously we don't necessarily relate to superheroes themselves with the powers and stuff, but it's the idea, it's the whole the meaning behind it, like the family you mentioned, right? Feeling like
Mm-hmm.
outsiders, which those are themes that people can relate to. You look at a movie like The Godfather, for example, right? And I always talk about this movie because for me it's like the gold standard for film,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. It's such a classic. But that movie, it's like people think sometimes, oh, it's a mom movie. I can't relate to that. But it's not. It's about family. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the corruption against Italian Americans in the film. It just, I don't know. I just think family is it can be a theme that everyone can relate to, and especially this movie alone. Like, that's important for me too.
Yeah, you don't need to, you can find your family amongst the people that you travel through life with. You can find them; they're there, and I think there's something uplifting about that. Which, particularly now, which I think is from my perspective, it's a little bit of a darker time in the world than it has been in a long time. There's a lot of, there's a lot to be pessimistic or even afraid about as we go through the world. So the idea that we have, look, love still, it may sound hokey, but love still conquers all, and there's still, the idea that if we look out for one another and we take care of one another, that we can find our path in life.
Yeah, I think so too. And what's great about even this movie too, about going back to Rocket, you did the motion capture for Rocket. And first off, I just think it's unique. Like, I've seen pictures and like I've seen some little snippets where you're in the green suit and you're kind of moving around, and first
Mm-hmm.
off, just doing that, how does it just feel to to nail the mannerisms and the physicality of that character, because I know even like the facial expressions, that's all you. So like, I guess, how do you just dive into this character doing it?
It's something I've been doing for a long time. Funny thing about the green suit is that the most famous pictures of me doing Rocket, I'm in the green suit because they're from the early on in the first movie. But I've done 6 movies as Rocket, and for 5.5 of those, I'm actually wearing a tracksuit, not that green, not that green suit. It's just the pictures that everyone knows. I mean, that crazy skin tight green onesie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's we didn't know how Rocket was going to work when we started making the first movie. My brother knew that he trusted me as an actor, and he knew that he wanted me there on set to work with the other actors and to read the role so that I wasn't, so that they weren't talking to a tennis ball on a stick or just speaking to a blank space or something like that. Um, and uh, and we just started rehearsals for that first movie, and I got down to a crouched position and started acting like an anthropomorphic raccoon, and it just worked. And we found that, first of all, as weird as it looked, the actors got used to it very, very quickly, so that it didn't look weird after a minute. And then it was just like, okay, we're going to relate to this person as though he's the character of Rocket. It gave Rocket a real sort of essence, and so that when they looked into Rocket's eyes, they actually saw a pair of eyes, which was really important. And the second thing that was really important is that the visual effects team saw the work that we were doing and said, "Hey, this is really helpful for us. When we see what he's doing, we see how he moves his hands and moves his head and where his facial expressions go. We can start to animate the character that way and know where he's moving and what he's doing. There's always a margin for error. They can always change things that I do if they need to because it's CGI. And as Bradley, of course, comes in and does like such magnificent work as a voice actor, if they want to add things from watching him perform, they can do that too. But I'm sort of there to kind of get the process from the first. It's like a baton, and it's like the James writes the script and he hands it off to me, and then I take the baton and I hand it off to the visual effects team, and then the visual effects team hands it off to Bradley, the anchor, and he kind of makes the whole thing work. And that's kind of how Rocket is sort of a character by committee. And in that way, I think he's a good microcosm for the whole sort of movies that they get this whole community of people, this whole team of people coming to make something with love and care, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's been a crazy process.
Yeah, you know what? I never really understood how much goes into this, especially like all the behind the scenes, how many people are involved. You got to think like without you, without your brother, without the VFX team, without Bradley Cooper, if one of those people are missing, it just throws everything off.
Yeah.
You need that dynamic, and especially you need good people doing it, right?